Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Bitcoin miners as well as NVIDIA earnings, which is coming up, and we'll touch on SMCI and Coinbase and Coney a little bit too. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so I want to start with the big one first, which is NVIDIA. Okay, so I want you guys to notice something here, all right? And again, I've gone over this we've gone over this in previous content that we've done before, okay? What happens when NVIDIA earnings is right around the corner? All right. And actually, it'd probably even be better if I go down to a daily time frame to do this. So, what usually happens when NVIDIA is about to have earnings? We see NVIDIA go sideways and or up into the earnings. And then after earnings, boom, the price explodes, right? It goes up massively. The only exception, I suppose, would have been the last earnings that we had, although they did beat earnings. Their forward guidance was not great. Definitely expecting things to be different this time. So again, had the earnings here. What happened? We went up into earnings. There was a slight pullback into earnings, which we're not currently seeing, and then boom, price skyrocketed. Earnings after earnings, slight pullback. But what happened after that? We went up into the following earnings. You guys kind of get the point here, okay? So we had a green day into earnings, okay? But you guys can see mostly since October, this thing has pretty much more or less been sideways. So it's given the stock some time to have a pullback in time, so to speak, as you guys can see the RSI resetting here on the daily before the earnings, okay? But as of the as of today's trading session, Nvidia is up actually quite a bit. So, in my opinion, Nvidia and SMCI being up today before Nvidia earnings is actually a very bullish sign for the earnings that's coming up. Okay, I think that is a foreshadowing of the bullish price action we're about to see on Nvidia. Same thing with SMCI. There's been a lot of FUD around SMCI, but you guys can see that it's up 31%. SMCI and Nvidia do have a business deal going on, just so y'all know. So that's kind of how that ties in. Okay, so I wanted to cover that. I do think Nvidia is going to have good earnings and forward guidance tomorrow. I am expecting the stock to go up based on the technicals here. I would say it's likely that's going to happen. You guys can see it's mostly just gone sideways for a number of weeks. Okay, so Coinbase, still very bullish on this one. The gap pretty much did get filled here. It doesn't look like it on the daily. All right, yeah, I take that back. Actually, it did get filled on the daily. Never mind that. Okay, so we're pushing up into the highs here. I'm expecting this thing to explode to the upside at some point here soon. Look, I'm going to tell you guys this right now, okay? So Coinbase has gone up. Yeah, sure. Didn't have great earnings last earnings season, but again, the earnings obviously become profitable once the retail crowd starts flocking into the space, right? We haven't really seen that yet. Again, retail starts to pay attention when Bitcoin goes to all-time highs, but they don't really get into crypto until we see the price of everything in crypto just absolutely start exploding. Okay, altcoins doing 5, 10, 20 X's. That's when everybody wants to come into the space. Once that starts happening, maybe even before it starts happening, which again, I don't think we're that far away from it, maybe a couple of months tops, maybe not a couple of months. I would say I think that's too fast. Probably somewhere between 3 to 4 months, okay, before we see a real serious all season. Any time in between now and then, Coinbase could continue to rip, okay, could get past this top here at 360 and explode to the upside. Again, the Fibonacci say it could go as high as $700 a share. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, take a look at what MSTR is doing. Would it be all that ridiculous to expect Coinbase could do something like this? Probably not. Okay? Probably not. All right, so I did just want to tell you guys before we get into the actual miners here that we have picked up more Coney. So we're now currently sitting at 350 shares. And we picked up another 10 shares of CLSK this morning. Again, we are basically just as long as the market continues to give us cheap prices, we're going to buy and buy and buy until eventually the squeeze takes place, and then we finally eventually profit off these positions, okay? So we do have our targets in mind. I'm not actually going to say what they are because I don't think it's really relevant because Coney and CLSK could easily go past those targets. I would not be surprised. So yeah, anyways, with that being said, just so you guys know, we are actually picking more up. And again, we don't usually cover that until the weekend, but I did just want to point that out. All right, so Mara here, Golden Cross on the MACD RSI looks very bullish. We had a nice little dip back into the EMAs and the support zone. That's not really a surprise. So I'd say Mara looks like a buy at this point. I mean, had a little rejection here off this top white line. Okay, yeah, never mind that. Okay, so I don't know why TradingView keeps doing this. I'm going to have to readjust here. Okay, scratch what I just said. I don't know what the heck is going on. It just keeps wanting to randomly move the lines around. That's kind of annoying. All right, so now it looks normal again. All right, so scratch what I just said. In my opinion, Mara it does look like a buy right now, so all the indicators are flashing green. The EMA is pointing up. We're above the EMAs. We did get a pop above the support zone, so that all looks bullish. So buy zone here is 1780 to about 20 and a quarter. Targets up here 29 and a quarter to about, I'd say 30, 32, 33, somewhere in there. So in terms of how far out, how high this thing could go, these usually top out in January. So it could go as high as 60. But if the miners continue to go up next year, based on Trump wanting everything in the U.S. to be mined in terms of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin stockpile and rumors of him supposedly buying the backed crypto exchange. I don't know if you guys have heard about that or not, but that should be pretty bullish. So if the miners continue to just keep climbing and climbing and climbing next year, this thing could go, Mara could go as high as $80 a share easily, which again is the previous all-time high for Mara. Funny how that lines up. All right, so next one here, Riot. Riot has had a very explosive move to the upside here, a huge grain candle. I mean, this thing is crazy. But the thing I want to point out about Riot is it does still look pretty bullish to me, okay? Whether we get a pullback, I mean, we're already sitting on the daily EMAs, so you could say the daily EMAs could be the buy area, so roughly about 10 to 12 and a quarter, which is pretty much the current price. It doesn't necessarily have to come back and test the weekly EMAs immediately before ripping. It could just keep on going up. So yeah, as of right now, I'd say everything's bullish. The RSIs, EMAs are pointing up. We got the golden cross on both indicators. EMAs on the MACD pointing up. EMAs on the charts pointing up, and we are getting the triple golden cross here. So I mean, it looks good to go. Again, I've given you guys the buy area. The profit target here is going to be 1880 to about 21, and let's just assume maybe like, I don't know. Let me actually go to the daily chart here because this is a little confusing. Okay, so yeah, you'd be looking at about 102% gain on this one. Okay, so CLSK, and again, the gaps, you can see the gaps are getting filled. Usually once those get filled, it can, generally speaking, continue to go up in this case because it is in a bull trend. So CLSK gap also got filled. For this one, I would say the buy area is anywhere between 12 and a quarter to about $14 on the daily EMAs here. Weekly EMAs on the MACD RSI look very bullish. They're all pointing up. The EMAs on the charts also pointing up, and we're about to get the blue and the yellow EMA crossing golden. That's always a very, very, very bullish sign. Okay. Last time that happened, actually, you guys can see this thing ripped from $5 to $25. I'm pretty sure I already said this, but you guys can see where we're loading the boat on these particular miners because, again, in my opinion, the time to accumulate is coming to an end. And these things are probably going to keep popping really hard to the upside. Okay, so you got your buy zone, 21 to about 2360 is the target. It could go as high as potentially 25. I did actually want to even go out even further here. So again, kind of on the whole Trump bullishness, Bitcoin stockpile, backed crypto exchange being bought, all that stuff. If these miners are going to top out somewhere between, I'd say probably January to March, they could go as high as, this one could go as high as 40 to 43. However, if The Bitcoin is all going to be mined here in the US, and these things just go stupid. CLSK could go up to kind of around $60 towards the end of next year, which would line up right around the timing of the top of the bull run. So do just keep that in mind. Okay, so if this thing, if the EMAs are to hold right now, which I suspect is probably going to happen, the move here from basically where the current price is would be 70% roughly. If you get lucky enough to get a pullback into the bottom of this zone here, it then becomes 91%. HUD 8, this one is it's a little expensive in my opinion. That is a, what is that, a hammer candle, so that's a very bullish candle. It's actually more bullish when it's at the bottom of a swing trend, but I mean, the fact that this thing's going up and sideways into the EMAs could potentially mean a continuation to the upside. But you can see on the weekly time frame, it's very, very overbought. So, and there is a gap here that I'm not sure if it's been filled yet or not. No, it has not been. So it's right around $20. So what I'd be looking for this one is roughly about 18 to 22.50 as a pullback. Targets would become 27.50 to 33. Again, there's no guarantee it has to pull back, but I would say it's pretty overbought at this point. So 88%. I'd be a little bit more bullish on these three over here. But yeah, I mean, we're even getting overbought on the RSI, so it doesn't necessarily mean it has to pull back immediately, but it's kind of an early sign that, hey, maybe taking a look at another miner might not be a bad idea. Okay, so cifr. I would say, once again, we're kind of stuck in between these two zones here. So buy zone 5 to about 560. Targets here 10, I'd say about 10 to 10.5. So the move would be of roughly about 112, 110%. And you can see the EMAs are kind of pushing up against that zone there. So that's a confluence of support. btbt, this one is a little expensive. I'm not going to say it can't go higher. These things they can and probably will even go higher than where they currently are, even if it does look overbought. I mean, this is crypto after all. It wouldn't surprise me if this thing just rocketed straight past that current resistance zone that we're seeing. I would not be surprised at all. But it's currently at the resistance. Again, if you're looking for the best buying opportunity, I would say probably, well, I mean, it could hold the EMAs. That could happen, but I would say probably somewhere around the weekly EMAs, so 310 to maybe about 370. Targets up here 420 to 480. And again, if you missed the buying opportunities back here, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you. We've been telling you guys ever since then that was the best area to buy. So if you chose to buy, great. If not, well, you'll just have to wait, I guess. 88% move. Okay, BITF. Yeah, this one's a no-brainer. I mean, it looks like a buy to me. We're barely getting the golden cross of the MACD. RSI hasn't really moved yet. Did get a push out of this triangle pattern, but still in the zone. Currently sitting on the EMAs. Looks like a pretty good opportunity to me. So 2 to 230 here, and then roughly about 3 to 360 as targets, even as high as $4. So maximum move here about 95%. Okay, iren. This one is kind of in the middle of no man's land. The indicators do look bullish, though. Everything is, everything looks good. Golden crosses, price above the EMAs. That's all good. Doesn't look like there's any gaps that need to be filled. I think we're good here on that. So I would say the buy zone would be roughly about 8 to 970. Targets could be anywhere from 13.25 to 18.25. That could happen very fast. I suspect these miners will be much higher by the end of the year before they're I suspect they'll be much higher over the next 5 to 6 weeks compared to where they are right now. And I'm talking about all of the Bitcoin miners, okay? Not just a few, probably all of them, okay? So 130% gain on this one. Hive, same thing, kind of in no man's land. Indicators look very bullish. We're not overbought yet, so that's always a good sign. Daily, there is a little gap here that needs to be filled, so about $3.60 to $4. You could potentially look at these EMAs as kind of a buy area, so anywhere between $3.80 to about $4.40. targets 570 to about, I'd say about 710, or my bad, 770. So 101% gain here, and Wolf. Okay, last one here. So this one is currently sitting in the buy zone, or what appears to be a buy zone right now. Just came from overbought, so that's obviously not great. But we're still kind of in this channel, okay? It's hard to say exactly what's going to happen here. I mean, this is a buy zone, and these are higher highs and higher lows. This is a bull trend. Okay, once we got the price above this high right here, that reversed the trend into a bull trend. Okay. So I would say regardless of the channel, this thing is actually still very bullish. Again, MACD pointing up, EMAs on the RSI pointing up, EMAs on the chart pointing up and fanning out. That's always a bullish sign. So yeah, I would say that personally, for this one, I would be looking for kind of that 380 to 750 as a buy zone, and then maybe the target somewhere around 1350 to 17 and a quarter. Again, those are those kind of swing high peaks there. It's about 300% and 380% gain. Okay, so I did notice that the miners seem to have a much closer correlation as of lately with the markets. So I'm going to touch on this briefly. I do suspect that the Nasdaq and the rest of the markets are going to continue to climb into Nvidia earnings and even after it. But I just wanted to show you guys this one more time, okay? So this looks like an accumulation block to me on the Nasdaq, okay? On the 4-hour time frame, we got the golden cross on the MACD, and the RSI did hit oversold, which last time we had this, I mean, it took a little while. You can see a very similar thing happened here. Nice little double bottom, kind of sideways accumulation, then boom, pop to the upside. We're seeing a very similar thing here. And we also do have bullish divergence, okay? It's really not so obvious when you first look at it, but we do have bullish divergence here, okay? RSI, MACD going up, and the price coming down. And the price is currently reversing into that bullish divergence. So I would say likely the Nasdaq's going to rip, okay? So why do I point this out? Because the miners have correlation with the Nasdaq right now, or at least it seems to do so. I think the miners are going to go higher based on the markets going higher, and also Nvidia going higher as well, which we saw Nvidia go up like 5 or 6% today. So, anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.